You're listening to Wes Way Out West on demand. Content from Town Square Media's 99.9 KEKB in Grand Junction, Colorado. A new installment of Wes Way Out West from KEKB in Grand Junction, Colorado today. It's going to be fun today because talking about a topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts, but one that is sometimes rather difficult to understand. And that is when the federal government comes along with a request for use of BLM land. And there are several states that they can make this request of. Exploratory committees are formed, studies are done, and we go around trying to figure out how to make more clean energy with things like solar and wind development. This is important to you and me because unlike the Rocky Mountain National Parks and the Pikes Peaks, the BLM lands are still extremely rustic. And BLM Colorado, as you may know, focuses on recreation, on the visitors' freedom to choose where they want to go and do what they want to do. BLM.gov will tell you more than 1/4 of the BLM lands in Colorado that are managed are specifically for recreation and tourism. About 6 million people come to BLM Colorado lands every year for hiking, mountain biking, water rafting, camping, fishing. Get the heck out of the hustle and bustle of the city and just go and relax. There is such a restorative power out there in nature, and we love our BLM lands here in Colorado. So, a bunch of information to tackle today. Lee Walston is with me from Argonne National Labs. They were just hosting a programmatic environmental impact statement in Grand Junction this past week. We're going to bring you some comments from that meeting, explain a little bit about what exactly is being explored on our BLM lands here in Colorado, why your feedback on the opinion absolutely matters, and how you can let your voice be heard during this evaluation that is ongoing right now in 2023. Lee, thrilled to have you in the studio. Not only are you an expert on studying and impacting solar energy planning, but you get to travel all over the country on projects such as this. And it's a pleasure for you to land in Grand Junction because, as the listening audience may or may not know, Lee happens to be a family from back in the Midwest, and it's absolutely awesome when we have a BLM discussion that my expert gets to be somebody that is such an awesome guy. So I'm glad you're here, and you'll be able to help us figure some of this stuff out today.
Thanks, Wes. Yeah, it's awesome to be here. I love Grand Junction. We stayed downtown, just a hop, skip, and a jump from the convention center. So many nice shops and nice stores in the downtown area.
It's really a fun
some excellent
community.
Food down there. I love looking at all the art down there in the downtown area. It was great.
You had a chance to eat over at Devil's Kitchen over in the Maverick.
We did. Yeah, that was awesome. Great view, great food, great service.
Argonne Labs sends you around the country to do all kinds of projects. Lee, can you tell us a little bit about your job description and what kinds of things that you do working for Argonne National Labs?
Yeah. So I work at Argonne National Laboratory. It's operated for the Department of Energy. And so some of the projects that we work on include helping federal agencies, including the BLM in this case. My department is the Environmental Science Division at Argonne. So we've got a team of environmental scientists, ecologists, geologists, lots of ologists that spend time looking at those environmental issues related to energy development. And lately, with a lot of the emphasis on renewable energy, a lot of our work is focused on looking at the environmental aspects of renewable energy. And so we're out here supporting the Bureau of Land Management on their solar program, looking at ways in which we can sustainably promote renewable energy development on public lands. So happy to be here.
At the heart of the matter, the lands that you explore, hike on, mountain bike on, camp on, fish on, and even whitewater raft around could potentially be home to large fields of solar panels, wind turbines at some point someday, and all these great people and groups that are working together hold all kinds of meetings and ask all kinds of questions and try to find exactly the right spot for renewable energy. A lot of states are considering this plan right now. Can you elaborate a little bit, Lee?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we've been on a little bit of a tour lately for this new BLM Programmatic Environmental Impact Statement.
These are big words.
Very big word, yeah. So sometimes we call it PEIS for short.
Okay.
But basically it's BLM's thinking process to try to outline the key issues and prioritize areas that are most suitable for solar development on public lands, looking at the areas that are the most sensitive and sort of taking those off the table,
Right.
and then identifying the lands that might not be as sensitive, or they might be degraded or disturbed in some capacity, that might be the most suitable for solar development. And so looking across all BLM lands in the West, that's a lot of land, right? So we've been going from state to state to support BLM in these scoping meetings. These are public scoping meetings that BLM has identified and wants to use to try to get feedback from the public on alternatives, key issues, things that they want to take into consideration when formulating this plan. So yeah, like you said, Wes, several states, several cities, Salt Lake City, all the way up to Spokane, Washington, Boise, Idaho, and all the way down to Phoenix, Arizona, and lots of other places in between. We were here in Grand Junction on February 9th for a public meeting. That was the last in-person public meeting, but there will also be a virtual meeting coming up on February 13th and 14th.
During the discussion this morning, we would love for you to open up our KEKB-FM mobile app and answer the question, what is your favorite outdoor destination to visit that is on BLM public lands today? Love to get an idea of where you like to go, and keep that in mind as we look through some of these exploratory questions about perhaps using some of that land for energy. You can find that question on our app, hit the chat feature, and let us know where you love going. Places like the Little Book Cliff Wild Horse Range, that's BLM public land. Where else do you love to go that you would suggest maybe to a friend? We'd love to know this morning on the app or at the KEKB Facebook wall. When we come back, we're going to go listen at the podium to some of the concerns from different groups in Western Colorado about this exploratory process. We'll also be telling you how your voice can be heard with your opinion on the matter and how to make those submissions known to BLM. Wes Way Out West on demand with 99.9 KEKB and Town Square Media. You'll find us online at KEKBFM.com. Our mobile app's in the App Store. Search KEKBFM. It's powered by CarBills, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto Ready, and you can download our full episodes of Wes Way Out West on demand so you can catch up with conversations like the one we're having today about BLM lands and whether or not they may be used for the development of solar and wind energy in the months and years ahead. Visiting with Lee Walston from Argonne National Labs, talking about the scoping process and the public meetings that were held last week in Grand Junction. We're going to go to the podium at that meeting and listen to some of the comments from the groups in Western Colorado that had expressed concerns about using BLM public land for green energy. These are the places we hike and bike and go camping, and committees are exploring in several states about ways to perhaps put some of those lands to use for renewable energy. So today, we're going to tell you how you can send BLM your feedback. It was really cool to hear some of the comments that were taking place at the meeting. This whole project that has been going on, we're discussing this morning. Lee, can you rewind us a little bit back a couple years when this came down from the federal government to explore increasing our green energy by using BLM public lands?
Wes, this kind of goes back to a couple years ago. In 2020, there was an executive order from the president that pretty much directed the Department of Interior to authorize about 25 gigawatts of renewable energy on public lands by 2025.
Is there a way to kind of help people wrap their heads around what that is? Means like what? Like a football field of panels, or two of them? Or
well,
one of
let's
them?
put it this way. 1 gigawatt is 1,000 megawatts. So 25 gigs would be basically 25,000 megawatts. And 1 megawatt of solar could require anywhere between, let's say 4 to 6 acres of land.
Wow. Okay, that helps us to paint a picture of the kind of space we're talking about. And that's another reason so many people are paying attention to this, because if we do end up adding those into some of our BLM land here, it's going to be noticeable.
You could probably see it, but also, keep in mind that we're looking at this across 11 states.
Yep.
So wherever these lands are identified, it would be kind of spread out across a lot of states, a lot of other states that might have more suitable public lands for development than maybe the Grand Junction area.
Wait, 21 gigawatts!
No, Dr. Brown, 25 gigawatts. It's very interesting. You say a couple of acres to get 1 gigawatt. So we're talking about a considerable area. But again, the point you made about this coming out of several states, not just out of Western Colorado. Now, depending on the sites that are selected, do they have roads there for the teams to build these panels, or will they also need roads? Are there transmission lines, or are those going to have to be built as well. There are a lot of residual steps that come after the decision is made. So some things to also consider, and another reason to keep an eye on this, because new solar panels and new transmission towers and new roads, that could mean potentially a lot of activity on BLM lands. And then we get back into the discussion of how much of a disturbance and that kind of a thing that we want to permit. All the while, Lee, before we listen to some comments from the podium, building all of this does not necessarily guarantee that any of this energy would stay in the Grand Valley. Talk a little bit about how that's decided.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, and one that unfortunately I nor in many cases BLM really has the authority to really control.
Right.
And so a lot of times it comes down to what is known as a power purchase agreement, where the developer enters an agreement with some buyer, which could be a nearby city or an Amazon warehouse, who's going to use the power and what kind of agreement is established to pay for that power. And sometimes those power purchase agreements send the energy across state lines.
Again, you can see more on the maps of BLM lands in consideration and lands that will not be in consideration on the KEKB mobile app and at KEKBFM.com. Links on how to submit your comments to BLM and how long of a window you have to make your voice heard. As we go to the podium now to hear a couple of groups who voiced their concerns over the project. Not necessarily in opposition, but what these meetings are for people like county commissioners to show up and say, hey, you better tell us about roads and lines and how much space we're talking about. And then people like BLM and the agencies know, hey, we got to come up with answers along the lines of these questions for the communities that may be affected here. At the podium, the county commissioner of Delta County.
One of the things I was sitting here thinking about was...
I'm sorry.
Wendell Koontz, county commissioner, Delta County. It would be helpful in a public policy and the general public for all of us to understand how many thousands of acres per year, per district it would take to meet the renewable goals, not only for just the industrial installations, but also the transmission lines that were brought up earlier, so that we can understand what kind of metric we are. Are we meeting these goals? And it may have to go by state, by district.
So some concern for how much space do we have? What will we use? Can we really put a dent into the amounts that the government is seeking from the space we could commit to the idea here? We'll take a break, come back, and go back to the podium, and we'll hear what the Colorado Wilderness Society lawyers have to say about this project. As we go, we are looking to our mobile app this morning, a chance for you to chat in about this topic. We're asking you, where is your favorite outdoor destination on BLM public lands that you like to go and visit or camp at or fish at? Tap the app, record your answer, send it in, and we'll add you to the program here today. Wes Way Out West, Town Square Media on demand at KEKBFM.com and on our mobile app, talking about energy on BLM lands and whether using the space we hike, camp, fish, and do all kinds of other fun things in is worth using a little bit of to generate some more green energy. We've been talking this morning about some of the questions that are being asked and were asked last week at the Grand Junction Convention Center when BLM and Argonne National Labs were presenting to Grand Junction. We're going to go back to the podium and hear what some lawyers from the Colorado Wilderness Society had to say about their concerns regarding the possibility of solar panels, roads, transmission lines, and other things all happening on the BLM lands in the years ahead. The BLM is also seeking your comments and your opinion on this project, and we'll tell you how to share those coming up, and you'll also find that information on our app and website today at KEKBFM.com. In the App Store, just search KEKBFM, our app powered by Carville's Auto Mart. We'll return to the comments from the scoping meeting. This is Mackenzie Bosher from the Wilderness Society. Interesting to hear the concerns that these groups are voicing out in front of the project during the scoping period.
My name is Mackenzie Bosher, and I'm a GIS analyst at the Wilderness Society. The Wilderness Society would like to emphasize that a comprehensive landscape-level approach is needed to effectively balance resource management and conservation needs with renewable energy goals and objectives. A transition to renewable energy is essential for addressing climate change. Decarbonizing the energy sector should not come at the expense of the West's lands, waters, biodiversity, or communities. Intentional, science-based planning can help ensure there is a balanced build-out of solar energy and related infrastructure in the West. It's important for BLM to prioritize solar energy development in areas with minimal resource impacts, including previously disturbed areas and in locations that are sited to maximize interconnection with the electrical grid. Pursuant to NEPA, BLM must ensure it is making an informed decision by using and carefully evaluating sound scientific data.
Next at the podium, Keely Meehan.
Everyone, my name is Keely Meehan. I am a policy and planning attorney at the Wilderness Society. On behalf of the Wilderness Society and our more than 1 million members and supporters across the country, we thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today as you revise the Solar PEIS. For the U.S. to transition away from fossil fuels and towards a more equitable energy economy, we must ramp up renewable energy production nationwide. Our public lands can be part of this solution, but we must ensure that the process is just and inclusive while protecting critical habitat, cultural resources, and communities. The Wilderness Society supports a comprehensive, landscape-level, smart-from-the-start approach to balance conservation needs with Congress's goal of permitting 25 gigawatts of new renewable energy on public lands by 2025. Specifically, we support expanding the area into all 11 Western states. However, we believe that the exclusion criteria should focus exclusively on solar energy. We recommend BLM updates its wind siting criteria separately in an update to the 2005 wind PEIS. Additionally, we believe that BLM should focus on resource-based exclusion criteria rather than technology-based criteria. BLM should keep all existing resource-based criteria and consider adding more, including some for habitat connectivity. We would like to underscore the importance of robust community and tribal engagement at every stage in the process. BLM should meaningfully involve frontline communities and tribes at every point in the process, including in identifying solar energy priority areas and avoiding significant cultural and tribal resources. BLM should also strengthen incentives for solar development in designated leasing areas, including on former minelands and brownfields. At the same time, BLM should further raise the bar for entry for projects within variance areas in order to redirect development towards solar energy zones while updating the variance area permitting process to adequately disclose cumulative impacts of proper projects at a landscape scale.
Next at the podium, Jason Carey.
Jason Carey, C-A-R-E-Y, and just representing myself. I do just looking through the GIS and everything, I think that the exclusions that I think were labeled technology exclusions, namely the solar insulation at 6.5 kilowatt hours per square meter and the slopes, all of those types of exclusions should be eliminated. The technology should be allowed to adapt to a site, and the onus of applying that technology should be on the developer. So I think that those types of exclusions should be eliminated. It seems like the GIS exercise that currently identified areas relied heavily on those two exclusions, and that there should be a lot more area available.
So a request to update what we use to filter out lands, the exclusion clauses, and because technology has updated, some of these solar panels can work in ways and catch light that they couldn't do before. So a request there from a citizen saying, allow for technology updates in the exclusion areas to factor in. A lot of very thoughtful people that care very much about our BLM lands and your ability to have fun on them and hike and camp and fish and go whitewater rafting. Really, really cool that so many people in Grand Junction are paying attention to this and speaking about it. I want you to get the opportunity to do so as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and let you know exactly how you can get your feedback to BLM. We've had a great conversation for the last hour this morning about the proposal for green energy on BLM lands, a executive order from our federal government and the president. Over the last week, meetings were held in Grand Junction. Lots of voices asking questions and talking about whether or not some of the areas that are reserved for hiking and biking and camping and fishing should be converted into areas where we can generate some green energy. Now, it's not just Western Colorado. It's 5 other states that are all looking for public lands where solar and wind can be developed on. We're going to make our entire conversation today available on demand on the KEKB mobile app. If you missed any part of it, you can go back, listen in, check out the article today explaining the mapping of BLM lands in Western Colorado and how to submit your comments on the entire project, whether you're for or against or just have questions, which is what a lot of people did. I want to thank Lee Walston from Argonne National Labs, who is here with BLM presenting and answering our questions this morning. The timeline on all of this, sir, can you help us figure out how this process will go along? Nothing is going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take the next couple of years at least.
So yeah, that's right. Yeah, the plan is to have this draft done by the end of the summer of this year, and then through the public comment period on the draft and the revisions and things like that to have it finalized by about that same time next year in 2024. So June, I believe, of 2024. That's kind of the target date to have it finalized. And yeah, so we're going to be relying on various tools. But one of the tool sets is this mapper that you mentioned, Wes, called GEM. It's called Geospatial Energy Mapper. It's an online mapping platform that has a lot of different geospatial data layers, BLM lands, sensitive areas such as wilderness study areas, things like that users can toggle on and off. It also has some other key energy resource features on there, such as slope, solar insulation, things like that.
Really neat that people can get on and play with it.
Users can play with the data to kind of see it in whatever area they might be interested in. What might be the more suitable lands.
Well, we certainly encourage people to come to our app and website and learn more about the proposal and what may be happening on our BLM lands right here in Western Colorado and how it might help our nation get more solar energy from the Grand Valley. Been great chatting with you, Lee. Great having you here in Western Colorado for a couple of days. Always great to see family, and even better when they work in specialized areas like this so I can talk to them on the radio.
Awesome. That's awesome, Wes. Thanks for having me. Now, let's go get up on the monument.